When you hear the name Fred Astaire, what's the first thing that comes to mind? It's the feet, right? The incredible tap solos, that weightless, almost floating elegance. I mean, he was, without a doubt, the dancer of the century. But what if I told you his most lasting legacy, the thing that's still influencing music today, wasn't in his steps, but in his sound? Let's dive into the secret history of Fred Astaire, the singer.
Yeah, we all know him as the dancer, but what if his biggest impact on modern music came from his voice? That's the big question we're going to dig into today. And get this wasn't just some niche opinion. We're talking about the legends themselves. Cole Porter, Irving Berlin, George Gershwin. They thought Fred Astaire was the guy to interpret their work. They wanted his voice more than almost anyone else's because they knew he understood something about how to deliver a song that just went right over most people's heads.
So, to really understand that influence, we first got to break down what made his voice so darn unique. Because, by any conventional standard, Fred Astaire did not have a great voice. But it was how he used that voice that started this quiet little revolution. He basically took what most people would call vocal weaknesses and he turned them into his greatest strengths. His tone was light, yeah, his range wasn't massive, but he was one of the very first singers to truly get the microphone. He knew he didn't need to project to the back of a huge theater. He could sing right into your ear. And this was totally different from the big-time crooners of the day. They were just belting out songs, tons of heavy vibrato, kind of singing at the audience. Astaire's whole vibe was the complete opposite. It was conversational, with almost no vibrato. See, he wasn't singing a song at you. He was telling you the story of the song. And here it is. This was his secret weapon, phrasing behind the beat. It's a subtle thing, but it's incredibly powerful. Instead of hitting every note right on time, right on the pulse, he'd kind of hang back, almost dragging the melody a little. And that's what created that relaxed, cool, effortless feeling, like he was just making up the song right there on the spot. Okay, now let's jump forward a bit to the 1950s, because this is where Astaire's vocal style makes this totally surprising leap, out of Hollywood musicals and straight into the heart of the American jazz scene. It's a connection most people just completely miss. So let's set the scene, right? In the 1930s, Astaire is perfecting this cool, understated style. Then the 40s hit, and jazz just explodes with the hot, fast, super complex sound of bebop. But then, by the 1950s, a whole new movement pops up as a reaction to all that fire, cool jazz. It was all about laid-back tempos, lighter sounds, and holding back a little emotionally. And this new sound, well, it had a bit of a problem. The old, dramatic style of singing, it just didn't work with the whole mellow, thoughtful vibe of cool jazz. They needed a singer who could match that feeling, somebody who really understood rhythm and subtlety. So where'd they find their model? Not in the jazz clubs of the 40s. Nope. They looked back to the movie musicals of the 30s. A whole new generation of jazz vocalists, starting with the legendary Chet Baker, looked back and they found their inspiration in Fred Astaire. Seriously, the similarities are just uncanny. Just like Astaire, Baker had a limited range and this vulnerable, almost whispered delivery. He was an absolute master of phrasing, just behind the beat, and he focused on rhythm and simplicity to get across these incredibly deep emotions. It's a direct line, you can trace it right back. But if you need, like, the smoking gun, look no further than Mel Torme. You might know him as the Velvet Fog for that super smooth voice. Well, Torme wasn't just influenced by Astaire, he straight up celebrated it. In 1956, Torme went and recorded an entire album dedicated to Astaire's songbook, and he just brilliantly nailed that same rhythmic precision and light touch. That album pretty much cemented Astaire's status as the quiet godfather of the whole cool jazz vocal movement. So what's the big takeaway from all this? Well, the influence, it didn't just stop in the 1950s. Astaire's whole approach created a new kind of blueprint for what a singer could be, and you can still hear the echoes of it everywhere today, from jazz clubs to your favorite indie bands. This is really the heart of his legacy. It's this idea that clarity matters more than power, that rhythm is more important than melodrama, and that real coolness comes from confidence, not from being overly complicated. He taught singers to treat a song like a conversation and to treat the microphone like a friend you're telling a secret to. Look, if you take one thing away from all of this, let it be this. Fred Astaire proved that you do not have to be the loudest voice in the room to have the biggest impact. He showed us that real elegance and sophistication often come from holding back. So the next time you hear a singer delivering a lyric with just zero fuss and a maximum cool, you'll know where that came from.
It was the dancer of the century who, with just his breath, taught generation after generation of musicians that sometimes the most powerful statement you can make is the quietest one.